Welcome, Gangerson, to your Mercury and Cancer 2026 Transit Talk. This is the Peace Dealer. Shout out to Leo Lover 333, Cheza, Meme 1005, Ash the Muse, Michi the Queen, Lucky Divine. Shout out to all of y'all in the chat. And yeah, I gotta say, today was a good day. Shout out to y'all who had a good day. Shout out Sandra, Soul Searching Security. So yeah, we're gonna break down this Mercury transit as we segue into, of course, Leo season, Infinite Flow, Ashley Collins, Miss Nikki. Thank you very much. I'm glad you guys enjoyed your day. Um, I had a pretty good rest, I guess. Um, yeah, shout out to Squirrel Man. Dove Visions, shout out to you, baby Buddha Luna. Yeah, I don't plan to make this too long. We're gonna resume tomorrow with the pick a card reading. So, and then I think that's it for this week. And then next week we'll do the Mars and Venus transit talk, Mars and Gemini, and then Venus and Virgo transit talk. So, yeah, um, I've appropriately titled this Mercury Transit Psychic Adjustment Integration. Given that Cancer is the first sign of integration, um, and relative to this integration, shout out to you, Devin. Cancer is the function of feeling. The retrograde motion of Mercury we can look at as a reevaluation of our thoughts. And with the function of Cancer, this is going to reevaluate not only what we feel about our thoughts. Okay, it wasn't really that bad. I think y'all just hyped it up to be bad. I think it was all right. I think it was pretty cool. Relative to the reevaluation of what we feel about our thoughts, because this is also coming around Jupiter in Cancer transit. This is adjusting your understanding and processing of realizing how much more potent your mind is, how much more psychic you are. I would definitely say it's like um, taking a water jug, replacing it with a bigger water jug, filling that bigger water jug with water, and kind of realizing how much more capacity you have to drink, how much more water you have. Um, if this was a water fueled device, right? How much more water in your tank that fuels it gives you more gas to push forward, more fuel to push forward. How much deeper do you feel? And most importantly, how much more skillfully um, are you able to maneuver through nuances individually and socially, social nuances and individual eccentricities? All right. I won't say this is like noticing stuff as much as being a lot more perceptive, or rather sharper and intuitive. Next 6 days about to be about provocation, dynamism, and liberation. Sounds great. Sounds great, great, great. So yeah, I'm gonna do my best to kind of explain this process and why I think this is a very underrated Mercury transit. Um, it's interesting to think that the last retrograde we had was in Pisces, I believe. If we go back a couple of months, we did have um, Mercury either enter Aries or was about to enter Aries and then retrograded. I'm not entirely sure. But as you can see, we did have the retrograde in Pisces. I like the uniform nature. Whenever we have a Mercury retrograde, it happens in the same element. It looks like we'll have another one in Scorpio. We'll see. But we're going from Pisces to Cancer, which is definitely very revealing. Um, and with that being said, this Mercury retrograde in Pisces occurred right before a major transit as well. We had Venus, Sun, and Mars. This is where Venus started to take over. We had this conjunct Saturn and Neptune. And before we really activated this new precipice, this new era, age, 30-year cycle, uh, 150 plus year Neptune cycle, we reevaluated quite literally our beliefs and our belief systems. So, right before we're getting ready to do this now in Leo with Jupiter, Mercury is appropriately reevaluating, okay, your feelings. So this is going to revisit March. This is going to revisit this shifting of your beliefs. So we had Saturn, we had Neptune since 2012, Saturn since 2023, really completely and totally shift your belief systems. This was a release of an old cycle, everything you had believed up until this point about yourself, about reality, about the collective, influenced by collective beliefs. Neptune helped transcend, disillusion. It's not as simple as just during this period you shifted your beliefs. It represents really everything that was ever possible to have been believed, everything you are aware you have believed. Given that Aries follows Pisces, if you practice the law of assumption, Pisces is what people who practice the law of assumption call the self concept, right? It's really the belief. Aries represents your self concept of I am, but that 12th house Pisces behind Aries are the mechanics of how your own beliefs unconsciously shape who you are. That's what this whole period was about. What integrity do you have in everything you have ever believed? And now that Neptune in Saturn is in Aries, how have those beliefs applied into what you're doing? There's a whole lot of what you're doing that's weird to other people, that could go against other people's beliefs. And this is where, are you a muggle ass bitch who lets other people define what you're supposed to be or do? Or are you your own person and you don't care how many people you make cringe or feel weird about stuff they have issues about you doing that they will never put on their life, they can't demonstrate is actually an issue, and is just being used as a means to quite literally manipulate you, even though they probably feel or swear they mean well and are doing good, when they could really just suck your clit. If they really cared, they would suck your clitoris instead of just yapping up at the mouth. So, like I was saying, and I'm not joking, I'm not being sarcastic, like I'm being dead ass serious. So, with that being said, okay, a lot of the actions you are taking as of current, oh my God, a lot of the actions you are taking as of current are representative of the integrity of your belief systems through this past cycle. You are applying this forward now, with now every action you are taking representing at a powerful level the nature of who you are, reflected through not only your actions, but the authenticity that goes into quite literally your character. That's what makes Neptune and Saturn and Aries powerfully character driven. That's what makes the beginning of this new world order and era entirely character driven. That's why a lot of the plot settings or devices you see happening in the world have a lot to do with the identity crises that many people are having. Even this World Cup is a celebration of national identity, which happens every 4 years. It's nothing specific to. It'd be interesting to see the astrology of each World Cup. I kind of brushed myself up in a video essay about every World Cup up until this point. I didn't know Brazil had 5 championships, and I think Italy has 4 or whatever. But like, it's a celebration of national identity that is almost impossible to separate from politics, all of which have everything to do with the greatest psyop you have. And I'm not saying this is bad. This ultimately is what people have chose, right? But like, think about the greatest psyop of all time outside of religion, that territories have convinced you that your identity is tied to the territorial nation state that you were born in and live, and you're stateless without a passport. This is not, I don't want to think of this as some grand conspiracy, because this has only come apart by people. Like, it's a collective of societies that have legislated all of this into law. I'm not saying that this is bad. I'm not saying that this is right or wrong. I'm saying that you are part of one of the greatest and longest psyops that have existed long before the Common Era, like spanning back to before the Common Era, BCE. Okay, and this is think about Neptune. The last time Neptune was in Aries, this country, this nationwide gang had a civil gang war over its identity. So I need you to understand, like, the identity crisis you are a part of spans globally and hits at the core of who you truly feel you are. Something that ever since you were born was defined for you. You have been conditioned to accept through peer pressure and society. Once again, I'm not going to say that that's a bad thing. That seems to be universal. That you being conditioned by a group of people or just culture or opinions, I don't think is avoidable. I think it happens in the animal kingdom as much as it happens for humans. But that being said, it doesn't change the fact that when you really examine, once again, the last time Neptune was in Aries, okay, this country, as well as others affected, was at war over its own identity. A good crop of states said, we're not Union states, we're Confederate. The Union states said, y'all aren't, we're not you, right? This is what America is. The Confederate states are saying, this is what America is. And you have to understand, this is all identity. You had slaves who were saying, that's not who they are. Everything about that conflict had everything to do with identity. This is how important Aries is. This is why we say Aries is the one. Aries starts off the wheel, 0 degrees on the ecliptic, the spark of spring. Everything ultimately comes back to the I am. Okay, so it's very interesting to keep that in mind, where now Neptune is back, and not just America, but we'll use America as an example, but it's not just America. We're seeing we're seeing a similar identity crisis. We're seeing the aftermath of Abraham Lincoln creating the amendment and the states coming back together, and the fallout of that's never truly been healed, right? That's only kind of fractured into greater sentiment. Not that it's had to heal. It's not that it never evolved from there, but we're still seeing echoes of this identity crisis. We're still seeing the split between conservative people identifying as conservative, people identifying as liberal, people identifying as neither, people identifying as third party. This is still one huge fractured identity crisis. Think about the nature of identity once again coming through into nationality. And I want to ask you guys, please comment this in the comments below. Is Are we going to see this change in our lifetime where per necessity, right? Where we can live in an age now where nation states can connect at a united nation of different gangs with their own military gangs can meet as nations, that this didn't always exist, right? These nations used to exist as like fiefdoms or like small representatives that were at war with each other, that through literal centuries of bloodshed, war, agreements, reneged agreements, stolen land, unhonored treaties, suddenly we're or bartering, selling, France selling the Louisiana, the United States, going to war with the rest of Europe's gangs. You know what I'm saying? The French gang war. Like, this is a lot of nationwide gang shit. And through all of these years, we've seen identity spring through. Some of these conflicts were directly used to gain identity for these nations. Think about China. China was at war with itself, the communists versus the nationalists, and then they both had to come together to beat Japan out their nation, only to go back to war against each other to fight over how they will identify themselves. Like, all of these things, all of these groups that by necessity had to, in competition with other groups out of fear for probably being taken over, had to establish who they were. Like, this is the warring states era, right? This is the formation of all the national wide gangs that exist today. The ones that are official, the ones that aren't official, the ones who are superpowers, the ones who are in between, probably having no power and having superpowers, aka the ones with nukes and the ones that don't have nukes. All these people are tied to cultures, all these cultures with which are tied to nation states, body politics, that pretty much tie into how you identify yourself in this system of classification, with which if you don't exist within the system, you don't really exist. You do, but you don't, right? So in kind of studying and understanding the factors that made this necessary, it's not as simple as people saying, I'm this, right? There's all sorts of factors in every single continent and every single country that have led to Canada being Canada, South America, the Americas, Europe, these continents that have changed, right? We don't have Yugoslavia anymore. We don't have Czechoslovakia. We don't have the Soviet Union. Like, these have changed over time, right? So now that we're in an age, none of these periods of time that I've mentioned have ever had the opportunity to download ChatGPT and make it its girlfriend. None of these people who I'm talking about have ever had the opportunity to create a virtual girlfriend who strips for them, and that they can live their whole life with a fake AI girlfriend. Like, we're completely stepping into a whole new era. None of these people, none of these states, none of these groups of people who I'm talking about have ever had the opportunity to call somebody halfway across the world, making the world that much smaller. Yeah, I mean, when Alexander Bell created the phone, that created a possibility, but like, we were in that position where now the idea of our identity is changing, right? Where now this cycle could possibly bring this whole new world order, where now with infrastructure that can connect nations, maybe this whole one world government the sustainable development may not necessarily be as impossible, whether that's due to an Illuminati conspiracy or that's just naturally where the world is headed, right? We see, of course, relative to the 1800s, the last time Neptune was in Aries, we're coming into a whole brand new cycle where this is disillusioning you and transcending you beyond who you think you are, who society has told you you are politically, nationally, patriotically, and what you really are. Because I am remiss to think that when you die, right? If we want to entertain that your soul exists beyond this life, because no one ever truly dies, is that what you're really are you going to be seen as a Czechoslovakian? Are you going to be seen as an American? Are you going to be seen as Caucasian or African or Asian? Are you going to be seen as male or female? Right? Which, of course, given how we classify ourselves in this world works with the system we're in, is that what you truly are? Think about, is this something we will keep coming back to, especially in this new cycle? Keep coming back to every which way you identify yourself, because this is the first point of the equation. You may find that perhaps a lot of what's blocking you from truly, I'm not going to say anything's blocking you, but a lot of what's challenging you, or maybe getting in your own way of aligning truly with who you are and what you want, could directly be related unconsciously with the way you identify yourself. And I don't mean like identity politics, like I'm this sex or I'm this gender, albeit we can say that's part of it. I mean, at the core of your being in a post-materialist, reductionist society that doesn't even believe you have a soul and that you are just flesh material that will decay and return to dust. Maybe perhaps the unconscious way at a daily level you for granted identify yourself in a certain way could be the cause of your stress, could be the cause of people being more disconnected to who they are than ever, and really just accepting what slop is put in their face when you say I am. All right. I like to think all these things, your nationality, your race, your culture, your ethnicity, I like to think that these are things that you have. I don't think that these are things that you are. I think that these are qualities that you have. I think you have a nationality. I think you have a ethnicity. I think you have a classification of a race that's entirely different from saying something man-made and created that's not really is what you are. That's just me though. And as always, like I say, please take what I say with a grain of salt. I'm just giving you my perspective. Could be totally wrong. Maybe this all is what you are. Maybe from the beginning, that's what you always meant to be. But you know, many of you are waking up from this psyop because, unlike your ancestors, we're inundated with information and we're able to really look at history a lot more critically and how we've gotten here. And I think some of you have the audacity to reclaim what and who you truly are outside of all these false classifications that have only done well to divide and separate you from others that you have more in common with than you have set like apart from. We've seen this in tribalism. I think Neil spoke to Shannon about this, where I mean, we see this in race. It's easy to separate between the black, the Asian, the white person, but even amongst white people, Irish and Italians are barely recognized as white. Okay, Japanese, Koreans, and Chinese people have never had the most, they never really liked each other that much, right? Obviously, we see this amongst even Africans and Black people. There's this tribalism, there's this illusion of separation. There's always going to be something that we'll use to separate us. We've seen this with religion. Oh, you're a Muslim. Oh, you're a Muslim. You're not going to heaven. Oh, you're Christian. Oh, you don't believe in Jesus. Like, leave it to human beings to proliferate the illusion of separation, which is only an illusion. This illusion that there's anything that separates us. Even if you look energetically, there's nothing, we're all quantumly entangled. Okay. So this is this lie of the ego to where I need to feel like, oh yeah, let me know, because I you know me, I'm not conscious if I say this or not. So please let me know. This is 41 all time. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like we're going to find ways with which we can try to feel better than the other, which only insecure people need to do. Um, there are ways we can hold each other accountable without having to do that. So the reason why I'm going at length to talk about just Aries, in order to understand this Cancer transit that's squaring Aries. Really? I'm at 42. What the fuck? All right. In order to understand this Cancer transit that is the first checkpoint to this Aries cycle, it is very significant, okay, for us to really understand this Aries lesson that has been years in the making, especially with this Neptunian transit. Source, your higher self, the universe, God, right? I know I've pissed off some people who say, stop calling God the universe. Bro, if you want to call it the flying spaghetti monster, go for it. You can go with the recognized names in their canon. I really don't care. And let me tell you why. Because it's really the reflection of your actions and your fruit that you bear that's really going to tell us, right? People can say whatever. Well, how are you demonstrating it, right? So you know, this is very, very significant because, of course, this revelation of what and who you truly are, many of you are realizing that it transcends everything you were ever taught physically. It's you're being revealed aspects of yourself that are beyond quantification. Really? 44? That's crazy. So obviously in a system like this that demands some kind of empiricism, which I won't say is really a wrong thing. I don't think it's entirely bad. You know, that could be very frustrating. You could feel caught in between worlds. And this is where, you know what I mean, you start to be revealed a more existential horror in that most people don't care or know you. Most people use you as a proxy for the image of you they have in their own heads, for how you fit into their narrative, right? For example, there are people who may look at you, Glamour, as just how you fit into the legacy of being Dominican, right? And like certain things you can do that can embarrass your race or embarrass your culture that other people can do. You know, these idioms we say that are really nonsense ultimately, but socially we'll still look at, right? As if one person can take actions or speak for an entire culture, but we'll still do that, right? even though we all have different, blood types and whatnot, um, most people will never really know you as much as what you represent. Okay. And this is before I start talking about like psychic abilities and psychic powers, really think about this. Most people will say some bullshit like, oh, well, if you had psychic powers or if you had magic, you would be rich. Like, why wouldn't you have all the money in the world? Right. And this is how delusional people are. Okay. This is how like gone they have been for centuries. And I'm not going to blame people as much as the conditioning at play that has just allowed people to accept lies for truth, right? So you're taking what we've done in this society is we've taken the real and called it fake, and we've taken the fake and called it real. Forget the fact that money isn't real. Money is built off of confidence. This is why the market shifts, right? It's based on how people feel, like liquidity. This is just all emotional. If people feel lack of confidence in something, the stock is going to go down. None of this shit is actually real though. It's backed off of certain materials. There was a time where it used to be backed off of gold. Now it's backed off of debt. A whole lot of success. 10th house, every house is subjective. What people used to see as successful back in the day is not the same as what people look at success today. Even though there's some universal principles that have stayed the same, success is still primarily subjective. It's made up. It's weird human shit. It's some shit objectively another culture can look at and be like, why do you guys see this as winning? Right. And what's very significant about this is people want to use a real intangible essence beyond your ability to comprehend, like magic that will tell you isn't real, or psychic abilities that represent intangible metaphysical nuances, right? So people expect for you to bring something, a true real essence, in order to create something fake. Think about that. Debt. So if I can't use magic to create debt, if I can't use magic to create something that's not really even real, then we're going to blame that for not being real in order to create something that's not real. We're going to take something that is true and we're going to say, because it can't make something fake, that's fake and that's real. This is how crazy people are. This is how crazy people are, buddy. And I'm trying my best to put this into words because it's like, if I were to tell you to take a whale and to put it in a fishbowl, you would look at me like I'm fucking crazy. You would say that's not possible, right? But you will let muggles tell you about how magic works. You will let people who've never read a chart tell you about how you're supposed to read zodiac signs. Like, this is how crazy functionally people who speak eloquently and just hit you with trash sophistry talk about shit they have no authority talking about. And it'll sound like it makes sense. And people will be like, oh, yeah, that's true. Whole time you sound like a fucking idiot. You're asking people to put a whale in a fucking fishbowl. We're trying to empiricize magic, which in its very nature is unquantifiable. This is how fucking dumb people are. Seriously, like, people are simultaneously intelligent as fuck and stupid as fuck. That is the duality of man. Okay. As brilliant as we are as people, we are simultaneously some of the dumbest people on earth. And to me, I love that duality. I think it's a form of chaos that's beautiful, but it's fascinating People will really think they're cooking, saying the most stupid shit. And like, that's cool. I mean, that's basically all of science. Science is developed by people making stupid theories only to prove itself wrong. And through that sharpening, right? No one was ever always right with science. So the idea of saying stupid theories and hypotheses is a part of science. I'm not going to criticize that. People are going to say dumb stuff, experiment on it, realize it was stupid, and then refine it going from there. It's just this hubris. It's just this hubris that comes in resting on ethos that doesn't really exist because people have been content with the prison they've built for themselves. So we haven't even got to Mercury and Cancer. We're still just talking about Aries, guys. Chiron going through Aries for the years that it did is healing the ego vulnerability that comes with feeling attacked or feeling the need to prove yourself. All right, or feeling the need to identify yourself in a certain way, where because your beliefs are attacked, you feel your identity is attacked because you've attached your identity to your beliefs. Okay, which is why we surrender and we rest in who we are, knowing we don't really have to prove anything. This is impossible to do in today's day and society, where people talk more about your legacy than even know who you are as a person. Okay. All of which is just talk. So people will literally justify in their heads work that was worth it just to appease people's opinions and talk. And this is nothing new. This has happened since the BC era. So most criticisms I'm speaking about society today, I'm not going to blame humans for it today. It has existed since humans have been a thing. Like it's just a fundamental facet of our own hubris, right? And once again, I'm not even going to say that it's a good or bad thing, right? We are just one race, the human race. Thank you, Pumpernickel Cookies, because you're not stupid. You actually get it. This is something everyone knows. Like everyone knows this. I'm not going to say further classifying ourselves into subspecies and different cultures is bad. It's inevitable. It would have always have happened. I think it's a beautiful thing to embrace differences in culture. You know what I mean? But to the extent with which now this is your core identity, you are actively shooting yourself in the foot because now there are unconscious, subconscious, core soul facets of your own being that now conflict with the nature of how you repeatedly identify yourself, which is important for those of you who are wanting to be spiritual, for those of you who are wanting to who feel that there's more that you can't put your finger on, but you don't realize the ways with which you are chaining yourself in an identification that's not real. That's why I like to think of this as a game. When you're in this culture, when you're in this system, you are participating in a game with social contracts we have widely agreed upon and accepted, whether you know it's under duress or not. It's ultimately under duress because you can't just be like, I don't want to follow the rules. This nation and its military and municipal police force will lock you up. And then you'll have your habeas corpus. Some countries don't even give you habeas corpus. They'll just have their way with you. It's all under duress. But that being said, this illusion of free will, which free will is an illusion. Every single action you take is predetermined based on the past, your very character as it exists. That's just my opinion. You could be a compatibilist believer who believes in free will and predeterminism. I'm if anything, what do they call it? Well, yeah, hard predeterminism. But I'm flexible enough to believe in compatibilism. That being said, okay, a transit like this, let's get into this Mercury and Cancer because I will yap all day. That's my Gemini flaw or whatever. Um, I like to believe at the core we're souls, right? Intangible beings that death is not the end for. That maybe while we may, the egocentric part of our consciousness may transform and we may not remember aspects of this experience. I can't quantify or prove this, but there is that intangible essence within us that fuels our spirit, that generates our life force. Um, Once again, I don't have a peer-reviewed research article that I can give you proving that you're a soul. Um, you may really just be a brain stem with boom hallucinating your experience. Mercury is strong sextile my Mercury right now. That's true. But that being said, you know, um, as we are all dreaming this incredible dream, what Mercury in Cancer is doing is it's accounting for the ways with which you've not only evolved your individuality again, because the last time we did this was 2011 and 2014. So now we're doing it again. But this time it's aligned with a whole new era, a whole new cycle that uh, collectively we haven't had since the 1800s with Neptune, the 1700s with Pluto, and the 90s with Saturn. The 1940s with Uranus and Gemini. Like, we're back. We're so back. And this is definitely going to shift in alignment with the whole new generation with heightened awareness, the ways with which we will continue to identify ourselves, which may become even way more delusional or way more on point. We'll see. So Mercury in Cancer now at the heels of, oh, we're at 46. Thank you. Oh my God. Thank you guys. All-time counter. Okay. So now that we are in Cancer season, Jupiter has gone through Aries, Taurus, Gemini. We've expanded this identity, I am, the value in Taurus, our mindset in Gemini. And now we're at Jupiter is in Leo. Jupiter is in Johnny Bravo right now. And I don't know what meme I saw that from. Shout out to Ari. And now we have begun the process over the next 4 years of taking the individuality of the first 4 signs that represent facets of ourselves, and we're getting ready to integrate that socially. We're getting ready to tie together how we will come outside of ourselves and develop more the talents and the behavior and the expression that comes from this. This is the same degree retrograde as the Roswell UFO crash. Good to know. So with that being said, this is what makes this, I think, one of the more underrated Mercury transits. The Mercury retrograde in Pisces reevaluated everything we believed, because we were getting ready to step into a whole new world, literally new world, new Saturn and Aries transit. 1996 is coming of age. Next year is going to be 19. Are you serious? I said, oh, wow. Next year's going to be 1997. Wow. And then 2008 is going to be for 1998. All right. So, yeah. So, oh, I almost said it. I almost said it too. That's great. I caught it this time. So with that being said, all right. So yeah, concerning that, see, I gotta say new stuff now. Concerning that, what this puts you in a position to do, I really can't help it, is now we are integrating this understanding of what we feel, because not only are we stepping into this brand new cycle of evolving who we are in alignment with this next era, whereas everything we've ever believed about ourselves, Mercury had to reevaluate. Mercury had to be like, okay, wow, like I'm at the precipice at the end of a major cycle that's going to shift every single person else I live on this planet with, and everything that I have ever believed about who I am Because remember, this whole Pisces transcendence into Aries was you accepting a more divine element of yourself. This could have been in the most delusional, fraudulent, grifting way, where you're telling people to believe in something that you don't practice and you don't really believe, or in the most delusional way that you fully believe and you can't necessarily prove, or in a way that's practical that you do believe and you live and walk, or like there's all sorts of, on the spectrum of extremes, how you really express this. This is where I'm saying the planets don't necessarily, having said that, I like that. Having said that, it's not really the planets influencing you as much as how you are aligning with these planets and what you sow, that's what you reap. So everything that you had reevaluated March and April before Mercury conjuncted Saturn and Neptune is being revisited in now taking how you've changed those beliefs and now how you feel about who you are and how these feelings are driving forward these previous beliefs. These feelings in Scorpio will transform deeply, intimately in sharing your individual feelings socially with others. And that's the water trinity that comes back to a collective belief. So Mercury, that is in Cancer, is taking quite literally the activation of who you are in Aries, the innovation of your value from 2018 till now with Uranus and Taurus, the radical innovation of your mindset and the previous evolution of your thoughts with Jupiter that was in Gemini last year and Uranus that's in Gemini. All of that is huge. Let's kind of recap that real quick. Aries has been a freaking field day. Like Aries is back, baby. Aries hasn't been back like this in a minute. Aries is going to kind of innovate and transcend what it means to be an original character and an original villain. Okay, for those of you going on your villain arc, like it's some different shit. Taurus has held it down. Shout out to my Taurus suns, moons, and risings. Taurus has held it down in making sure you quintessentially innovate your sense of self-worth and what ownership means. Okay, we've seen Taurians fight the gauntlet in order to really represent, for better or for worse, their own independent platforms. All right. And not all of this is good. Like, I'm not saying this is all a good thing. Like, we've had to see good examples of this, and we've had to see horrible examples of this. So throughout the whole spectrum, we can see the same unifying factor: identity, value, and mindset. Okay. Jupiter came through with a Gemini, came through 2024 with a bang. Gemini won 2024. I will keep saying this as a fellow Gemini son. Like we smoked 2024. The way Cancer has smoked the last half of 2025 and the first half of 2026. That's crazy. And so Gemini evolved our mindset and has begun the process of innovating our thoughts. Okay. So why is this important? For those of you who are just joining us right now, we're pretty much just getting into the gist of this. And before we really start, for those of you who would like a live reading, per usual, you know the deal. I will read your chart and I will look at this Mercury transit and I will interpret how it's going to play through. Tomorrow we're going to do the pick a card reading. So shout out Mercurial Muse. Shout out to those of you on Instagram. For those of you who would rather wait until tomorrow, we can do that as well. Be sure to smash that like button and support today's broadcast. So with that being said, I mean, what are we saying now? Having said that, of course, all these three facets, the Aries, the Taurus, the Gemini, are representing since 2010. Uranus going through Aries and Taurus, now it's in Gemini. Since 2022, 2023, Jupiter has gone through Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and Cancer. And Chiron has just made it into Taurus. Okay. So Saturn is not going to be in Gemini until 2032. That's the planet that's going to bring the infrastructure and the system and the organization around Uranus innovating our individuality, Jupiter evolving our individuality. These things have happened and are happening. So what is Cancer asking you? What the fuck does that feel like? Right? You've literally taken who you are, and over the course of over 10 years, you've evolved it. But you've actively innovated it, you've evolved it. You're innovating your mindsets. You're thinking more radically than you've ever thought. People are more unhinged, saying stuff they would never say 10 years ago, or would never have the courage to say 20 years ago, or would get jumped for saying still today, right? For better, for worse, right? How do you feel about that? Have you ever really felt who you are? And that's why this Cancer season is very slept on. It's very important, because before we go into Leo season and we bring that feeling on stage, think about entertainment, think about art, think about all the stuff that we have ingested, and how many people say the soul is gone. People are trying their best to say that the feeling is gone. Like, you can listen to music today and still feel things. There's the other side of this argument. Like, new music isn't as bad as people are saying it is. Like, it's just a continuation of what is already brought through. But at the other end of it, there is a feeling that has departed. And I believe we're in the midst of a renaissance where that feeling is coming back like never before. And that feeling is coming because people have lost sight of who they have always been. They've lost sight of who they are. They've become disillusioned relative to all the things happening in the world and society that bring them away from who they are, as they run a hamster wheel, wondering what the point of life is if everything that I make, I'm spending to a organization, a corporation, in order to barely live, right? For most people who are identifying with a class or a state of poverty or not, right? And that's what this year is integrating at a deeper level. I wanted to make a special video about this, but I think a really great talking point are people pointing the finger at Young Miami because she made a song called Spend That Shit, and it's just another example of how we can point at Black culture and say it is completely degenerate. Because why would we celebrate music about scammers? And why would we celebrate music about, all that stuff? Meanwhile, I grew up in high school singing along to Let the Sweat Drip Down My Balls. Oh, skeet, 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 skeet. Okay, my neck, my back, my pussy, and my crack. Okay, like we're talking about it's so easy to point the finger at the genre. Let's just blame Black culture. Let's just blame the artist, right? When this has quite literally been an industry-wide thing, right? Rock, jazz, country, pop music, okay? Every single genre of music has been responsible for producing music that parents throughout history have fought to get away from TV because, oh, it's too toxic. Oh, we can't have children listening to this. And we're blaming the artist. That's why I hate to see the finger be pointed at Black culture. And then of course, like, the artist will always be the scapegoat. Oh, it's Young Miami's fault. Why are we celebrating this? And yet, who owns Black Entertainment Network? Who owns Universal Music Group? Who owns all of these record labels? who is getting money from these white artists, from these Asian artists, from these black artists? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, who is promoting this image? Who who is the one that is getting the royalties from this? Who are the ones that are doing this, right? So you might want to blame the record companies. You might want to blame the Jews. You might want to blame the oligarchs that through all these decades have pretty much gained all this money by setting this, and then hold on, right? And the white man get paid off of all of that, right? Having arguments like who gonna have the biggest first week, right? But then you remember economic principles, right? Supply and demand. Could these same monopolies make money if any of this stuff wasn't in demand, right? This is what implicates quite literally everyone. Everyone who's pointing the finger at everyone is really a part of the same shit. It is a literal circle. So we're going to blame the artist, but that artist reports to a label exec. That label exec is in an industry that wants to make money. Can these labels make money if the product they're pushing is not in demand? So the very same culture you're trying to protect is the one at fault, because the reality is Black people, white people, Asian people, Hispanic people, Latino people, like all sorts of people throughout all of history and time make uplifting music. They make healthy music. They make music that speaks on positive things. The general market has deemed it corny as fuck. It is people who say, nah, this shit is corny. Ew, this is boring. Do you know if these same labels could make money off of Christian music? All music would be holy today. Okay, and then we can go deeper into, well, why is it that people are conditioned to demand this type of stuff? What is being put in our face? So we can have this chicken egg argument, but it almost seems as if everyone has a hand into what we're doing now. And pointing the finger at somebody, most people want to point the finger because they don't really want to speak to the fact that they are at fault. In tandem, everyone feels like they're doing their part. No one wants to take blame. No one wants to do what is okay. So we can blame the labels all day. It does not change the fact that the same music people are complaining about is evil. If that music comes out, you don't have to support it. You don't have to make it rich. You don't have to play it over and over. It is only as successful. The artists are only as successful. These conglomerates are only as successful as they are because human beings are the only species on this planet that pay good, hard, fake fiat currency to actively be lied to and deceived. I do it all the time. I'm going to pay money to buy some movie or clip show that's not even really real. Like, it's all simulated. So I'm not trying to say that I'm better than now. I live here too, guys. Probably gonna eat some pizza at the end of this, some cheese pizza or whatever. So it's like, something to keep in mind, right? This all comes back into the major identity crisis that has been proliferating for decades, if not centuries. And it's very disingenuous to point the finger at just one person when this chain moves forward, this division. Yeah, you cannot get people to agree on one thing. That's why these things keep proliferating. and we keep on pointing the finger at a proverbial imaginary devil or somebody who's doing something against our self-interest, when at the end of the day, artists merely reflect the culture they're in. A song like Wet Ass Pussy, a song like a song like Spend That can only be big because of the culture it is reflecting, identifies with it, and champions it. I don't think that means we need to be pointing the finger at the musician or at the culture. I think the problem, if there is one, is beyond and so much deeper than the surface. We don't want to address it because that would require unraveling quite literally everything that every piece of infrastructure and business is based on. And so, what are you going to do, regardless of if you're angry about this song or not? You're still going to spend that shit. You're still going to spend money so that you can pay your rent. You're still going to spend money so that you can get what you want. And at the end of the day, that reveals more of an economic, systematic issue that we may never really see resolved in our lifetime. Thus, pushing forward to move forward in this cycle again. Where my boosting bitches at? So, with that in mind, okay, this all goes back to who you feel you are. What feeling are you bringing to your environment? And how much of this feeling is really just influenced, which is okay to a degree, it's inevitable, by everything around you. It's all part of this wild game. This brings us into game theory, which I didn't realize is mathematical. Except Lil Dicky, he gonna save that money. Okay, all right. So, yeah, y'all. I'm going to take this to a sci-fi level. This is where I want you to take your grain of salt to an even greater level, because now I'm going to go balls off the wall talking sci-fi and fantasy. But this is where now, relative to this new cycle, relative to these technological advancements, I get the sense that in alignment with centuries worth of DNA that you are quite literally living out, there could be a cumulative effect. I'm trying to find some realistic ways to talk about some absolute nonsense, but there could be a cumulative effect around the supernatural awakening of your own potential. All right. This is where, however you want to make sense of this, please do, because I can only give you my perspective, and there's so much more I may not be aware of that you are. So I'm not above being wrong. I'm just finding the best way to put this in words. So what is Mercury and Cancer going to do? Because we're an hour into this, and I still have not spoken about what Mercury and Cancer is doing. Okay, so in order to understand Mercury and Cancer, once again, Aries, Taurus, and Gemini is the activation principle of your identity. I am, I have, I think I'm a sexy ass motherfucker. Okay. But how do I feel like the sexy ass mofo I am? Because it's not enough for me to think I'm sexy. I have to feel sexy. I have to be like, take that, take that, take that. Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. Is this the wrong time period to say that? Is it still controversial? Yeah, 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 baby girl. You know what I'm saying? I'm oozing sexiness because I feel sexy at my core. Is that enough? Is that enough? How do I feel who and what I am? And this is where that Aries clash comes through. The clash of Aries to Cancer is the clash between saying, I'm a winner, and feeling like a winner. The amount of people who will tell you they are a winner but feel like losers are a lot of people. This is what makes Cancer private. A lot of people will not always express how they really feel. How do you identify as a winner and feel like the winner you are? Okay. this will segue Taurus into Leo. How do you have great value, but perform that value on stage in the form of confidence? An artist that knows they have a hit song performs the fuck out of that song. And then Gemini to Virgo. This is the challenge of integrating Cancer, Leo, Virgo with Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. So Gemini is, I think I'm the shit, but Virgo is like, how can we be sure? How do we know that that's not cap? How do we know that that's factual? And this is why we all hate Virgo, because Virgo is going to be this critical, factual, well, the DNA test says you lied. Like, relax, Virgo. I wanted to believe something. But this is the need for this critical axis. We're at the Aries Cancer right now, where how do we feel who we are? And that's what has been happening. Okay. And this is where we're going to talk about Mercury and Cancer. Okay. So Mercury receptual, that's so amazing. Cancer, I feel, is the first integration sign next to the first two social signs. It's the last element of the first four. Okay. And Jupiter, since last year, has quintessentially leveled the fuck up in it. So this last point of identification within you, you have already begun the process since last year with the square to Saturn and Neptune, leveled up. Boom shakalaka Johnson sauce. Okay, I need to patent that. So what we see here, I almost said it again. What we see here is now the coloring in of the lines. I want you to look at the last 3 months, and this new Saturn Aries is like a new coloring book. It's the coloring book of you. And the lines with which draw the boundaries of your character have leveled up. It's not the coloring book you had the last 12 years or the last 20 years. So Cancer is coloring in those lines. Some of you like to color outside the lines. You're different, right? But the subjective facet of what you're coloring in is not meant to be objective. It could be palatable. It could be, right? The rules are you're supposed to color in the side of the lines. Doesn't mean you will, right? So how do you feel about who you are evolving into? How do you integrate the supernatural awakening and the unconventional quickening of your own mind in alignment with your feelings, integrating your emotions? And how are you getting ready to break through this when we full scale go into Leo and you now break through a supernatural quality of talents you have been building since you were born and realizing, oh, wow, what the fuck? Science didn't teach me about this, which is totally fine. The amount of things science can catch up to, or science might have been wrong. Galileo was wrong about stuff. Einstein was wrong about stuff. Einstein outright rejected quantum mechanics. But I mean, we're not going to fault him. He's also got relativity, right? I'm not a science expert. But that being said, right, I like to think that, as is the case with every new age and era, we're going to discover things about ourselves, about our psychology, about our powers that might, in an AI age where people are completely just faking psychic powers and supernatural abilities, somehow going to break through this in a way that is not full of shit and actually real. I know I sound so retarded right now, and I'm going to sound even stupider. 50, fuck. Okay. So with that in mind, let's now talk about the intangible psychoanalysis of nuances you pick up metaphysically and emotionally through the function of feeling. You cannot quantify a feeling. You can't really measure a feeling. And that's what makes Cancer the most gaslighted and misunderstood zodiac sign, while simultaneously being one of the ones most prominent for emotional manipulation, because we're now basing this off of something you can't feel. But let's just take the idea of the power of your psyche. There's traditional psychic power and ability, being able to intuit things. And then there's really just the deep, compassionate understanding through emotional intelligence that puts you in a position to come into intangible senses of knowing or comprehension that you can't just get from inductively or deductively rationalizing or thinking certain things. Okay. So this Cancer season began the process in the beginning of Gemini, actually, while we were still breaking through in the full moon, our thought process. Mercury ahead of time that met with the sun at Taurus and aligned the value of our thoughts. It started to process. Remember, the sun is your conscious awareness like a baby, and the Mercury is the input output rationale of your brain processor that processes input, right? Before you bring meaning to that. So now you are processing your thoughts around your own feelings, which now an analytical, critical Mercury placement doesn't like the water because it's messy. It's not exact, right? I can say that there are 78 tarot cards here. I can count each card, right? But like, can I quantify my depth of love for you and how you make me feel and how I can't go a day without thinking about this messy bullshit? That just put it in a song, buddy. Like we don't really have to do all that shit. Like, you see how I get all icky? Now, if I was a fire or a water sign, I'd be singing in the rain, like, yeah, this is what I'm not a fire sign. I'm a dusty earth air sign. And like, I like to calculate and analyze shit. It's simple, it's quick, cool. But do you see how we got emotional here in Cancer? You see how you felt that, right? This is what is going to prepare for massive amounts of breakthrough by the time we balance this in Libra. Ultimately, you want to be like the Avatar. You want to have a master of all four elements. Like, la, 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 but I'm also there. Yeah, make it easy. Okay. Oh, shit. Okay. So, this is filling your jug that you've expanded. Okay. Mercury very quickly caught up to Jupiter. It didn't conjunct Jupiter. It's going to conjunct Jupiter in Leo. Keep that in mind. But it came close to Jupiter. Your brain is processing these intangible, messy emotions, not the soccer player, messy feelings. Yeah, I have this ghetto ass chair. Shout out to it was so good when I bought it at first. This is like 4 years old. I still need to get a new chair. I just procrastinated on that. Shout out to the dude who sold it to me. His girlfriend was moving out, and he saw me sitting on a stool. He's like, "Yo, you want to buy this?" I copped it from him. Shout out to him. I got to link up with him in a casino. He cool. But yeah, it's time for a new one. Once again, this integration is taking into account with the square to Saturn and Neptune, this brand new cycle. It's taking into account the innovation and evolution of your thoughts, your identity, your values, and you're integrating for the first time ever how you feel. And this is why this is very important. With the disillusionment of Neptune, the Neptune square is using outside influences in relation to how you identify yourself to show you how a lot of how you feel about yourself has been directly influenced by everyone but yourself. Okay. That was the most important part leading into this Cancer season. So this is Mercury coming into Cancer, which came in June 2nd. Now let's look at right now. Right now, Mercury is retrograde, 26 degrees. The sun is 10 degrees fresh off of a full moon. Moon is in Aquarius. I'm going to do the magic moon message tomorrow. What the? Okay, yeah, we did do the full moon ceremony. So, you felt good this season, and it's not black and white. You can have a bit of both. Let's do a range. You felt very, very good and aligned this period because everything you were integrating aligned with what you truly identify yourself as. You felt troubled, and it's okay. This, I would say, this is a little bit of everyone felt this. You felt a little bit troubled because you were integrating facets of yourself. You were trying to feel facets of yourself that never originated from you. You were trying to feel who you are using identification that came from your parents, your society around you, people from the outside looking in, labeling you, a systems classification of you, everything but what and who you really are. And I don't mean who you believe you are. Some of you believe you're like, I'm a unicorn. Okay. I'm actually a unicorn. Do I have a horn? It's down there. It's not up here, but like, I'm a unicorn. That being said, like, you know what I mean? Like, I can't just tell people I'm an ex-kabuki porn star / unicorn / genderless entity. This is where, right? This is where the Neptune and Aries, you can be a bit delusional here, right? No, I really said that. I thought I avoided saying that. Wow. Okay, cool. And this is where your capacity to functionally come up with an identification that works for you kind of, realistically plays out. This is where we balance in Libra. This is why we have these classifications and a system in the first place to work as a game or whatever. So this is why I'm saying it's not bad that we have these, right? It serves its purpose. Otherwise, people would just be saying, I'm this, I'm that, right? However, there's still the core of what you really and truly are outside of all these labels. And Cancer and Cancer season have had you feel this difficulty as you integrate facets of your character that were never really you. You are transcending and disillusioning yourself from things you were told you were, whether out of anger or whether out of meaning well, that were never really you, that you picked up subconsciously, that you were not even conscious of even adapting, that you're just so used to identifying with. All right. Now that there's a deeper, sincere feeling, now that you have more room and the capacity, because this is what the basis of this transit is about. Jupiter in Leo right now, as you can see, is in Leo. All right. Shout out to Leo. We're going to talk about that next season. You're back. Oh, God. All right. This is off the assumption that your capacity to feel as ever, it does every 12 years, which is crazy for me to say that an alignment in the sky is directly impactful to you. You better learn the math. This is just mathematics. You have substantially expanded how much more you feel about yourself. And I want to take my time here because that's what I'm saying. This is a very slept on transit. You could be underestimating how much more intelligent you are, how much deeper you have understanding, period. Maybe because a lot of this transit is internalized. This isn't a Leo season where we're belting our lines on stage and we're expressing ourselves through demonstration or being social. Cancer is very private. Cancer is the home. So you may not have realized by the way you've reacted to situations, by the way you've allowed yourself to feel instead of just say and explain yourself. But this Cancer season has enabled you to respond without even using words. You're letting your feelings speak for you, which doesn't require words. Your emotions are setting the context of what you think forward from that point, right? Like, what? I don't need to do this, right? I was about to bring up the Boondocks. But that being said, oh my God. Yeah. Okay. The potency and the depth of understanding has quintessentially evolved. You have not had this evolution since 2014. 2014, Saturn was in Sagittarius. Like Saturn was coming out of Scorpio. Okay. Now Saturn is in Aries, starting a new cycle. So this is taking into account an evolution of how you feel, how much deeper you can feel. Mercury is processing real time. Oh, wow. Compared to myself 12 years ago, compared to myself a year ago, compared to myself 4 years ago, I have come into so much more powerful understanding and a new comfort zone through the uncomfort of myself than I have ever had before. And you know what? Next year and 12 years from now is going to be the same thing, but at a different level. Okay. So Mercury now, the first 26 degrees coming out of Gemini season into Cancer season was your awareness catching up to your brain's processing of how much deeper you are as an individual, how much more capacity of sincerity you have to feel who you are as an individual, how much more you can feel who you have always been, and learning how to feel awakening supernatural powers in a way you've never felt it before. And that's going to be the new moon that's coming up. In fact, even the moon in Aquarius right now is quite literally transforming how you feel at current. And you'll never feel the same over the next 24 hours. All right, mark my words, because the moon on Pluto here is devious. Trining Mars on Uranus, like you're going to start moving very different. Just like that. So cool. All right. Now the retrograde, we're going to talk about the retrograde. The retrograde is now going to reevaluate everything you've ever felt about who you are. Just like Mercury retrograde in Pisces reevaluated everything you could have ever believed you are before we stepped into Aries, and then we activated, okay, this is who I am. Okay. Now, before we step into Leo and we go on stage, Mercury retrograde is reevaluating who you feel you are. What do you feel like? Because that's what the feeling you're going to bring into Leo. Okay. And I know there's a lot of bullshit associated with Mercury retrograde. A lot of people don't do things because it's retrograde. A lot of people don't travel because it's retrograde. A lot of people blame technological mishaps on the retrograde. And asking whether it's true or false is really more of like, I want to say a red herring. It kind of takes away from the point, right? Just like Mercury moving backwards is an illusion. It doesn't really move backwards. The stuff we experience during a Mercury retrograde is also an illusion. It's like an optical illusion. You're still experiencing what you're experiencing. So there's the other side of it to say that if you're going to say that it means nothing, that's a lie. But the stuff you experience during them is as much as an illusion as you seeing it move backwards. What I've noticed consistently occurs during Mercury retrogrades is where you were before. Like I've seen a relationship progress to a certain place, and then Mercury will retrograde back to the place where it started. Almost as if you're walking backwards and you're reevaluating the thought process that had you move forward with someone, change how you feel with it, and move forward with the direct motion. So there is facets like that as well. What we're going to see is back to the last couple of weeks. There was how you started to feel and think when Mercury entered Cancer, which is why I showed you the date before, 10 degrees in the Gemini season. And then there's where you are now. So at this point, you are realizing, oh, wow, the water jug is bigger. Oh, wow, my house is big. Oh, wow, I feel so much more powerful in these clothes. Oh, wow, I'm flyer than I ever thought. I'm really putting that shit on right now. Damn, was I always this sexy? Oh my gosh. Now my feelings about who I felt I was versus who I feel I am now, there's a gap. I have to reevaluate what I feel about myself. My thoughts around what I feel about myself have to shift. Because I mean, if I'm going to go on stage and it's like, wait a minute, I can do that? I didn't know that I can back that in a circle and then dance for 40 minutes. I didn't even put that in my performance. Now I have to reevaluate my entire performance because the way I feel about what I can accomplish is considerably different now that I've gained a glimpse of, oh, I'm really like that. I feel like I'm like that. So that's my analogy around the importance of the retrograde. And that's what's going to make what happens next truly epic. This is my theory around now. Since this is coinciding with the breakthrough of this sun moon transit, leading into the new moon that will involve the sun in Mercury retrograde, over the rest of this Mercury transit, coming into now the 1st of July, now that we've gotten to July, the 1st, 2nd of July, this is going to be in the precipice of reevaluating the feeling of your power. You are going to be breaking through and harvesting more depth of feeling and more potency, hyper accelerated exponentially at a level you haven't felt, that is going to be quickened very unconventionally and in revolutionary fashion, starting literally right now, like with Moon on Pluto, and really with the full moon before. Mercury is going to start to, as it goes behind in degree, catch up with your awareness in the sun. So now everything the sun is aware of through Gemini that had to shape our thoughts while Mercury was processing what we feel ahead of time. Now we are applying these thoughts to what we're aware we're feeling. Mercury was at 10 degrees. So everything we thought beforehand, you're now becoming aware. So it's like a scout or a messenger ahead of you in another room taking notes. You go into that room, you're reading the notes that the scout made. Like, oh shit. She said, what about me? You know what I mean? Like, and eventually that scout and your awareness are going to meet. And you're going to have that epiphany. Hey, these motherfuckers talking shit. Really? Oh, okay, I'm gonna say something. Like it's very important. It's very, but you're getting a temperature check. You're coming into alignment with what you're processing and what you're aware of. That's what makes this sequence very fucking badass. All right. So as you can see moving forward, especially when we have the moon go into Pisces and we have that trine to the sun on the 5th, but then also Mercury retrograde on the 4th and 5th, aka the 5th and 6th UT at this time. Okay. Mind you, Jupiter is squaring Chiron. It's settling into Leo. This is another thing that's really, Venus is getting ready to finish polishing the stage, go into Virgo so we can polish our technique, right? We complete the transit through Aries, coming into a total authentic understanding of how we feel what we feel and who we are feeling what we feel. We're coming into the conclusion of this transit, going through Chiron for the first time. It's going to be the first moon Chiron Taurus. Then we're having the first Mars Uranus Gemini. And then right around that new moon, boom shakalaka Johnson sauce, soon to be patented, we have the conjunction. And that conjunction is a major precipice point leading into, you guessed it, the actual new mother frickin' moon. And the reason why this is significant is this is an activation of psychic power that aligns full well what we're aware we feel about ourselves, how we feel about ourselves, and aligns everything we're thinking to this as well. So all of this is going to prepare us for the stage. In 10 days from the new moon, we're going to be on stage in Leo, baby. We're going to walk through the red carpet. And now we have had time to reevaluate this feeling of this new version of ourselves, because we are officially done evolving our individuality. The next time we do this again will be the next time Jupiter comes back into Aries. So now you can see the cyclical nature of this. Now everybody who's evolved their individuality are going to take part in integrating the evolution of society. By the way, this is what kicks off the advanced society arc. Jupiter and Leo, the Jupiter and Scorpio, is an evolution of the social axis, society. We're going to see society evolve. And that's why I'm saying this summer is going to be met with revolutions, protests that take into account late January of this year where tensions begin to rise. And I think we're going to see a lot more people outside than ever before, because this is just taking into account the subtle buildup since we were socially distanced back in 2020 when we had no social placements. So what are the coincidences that now we're going to come back into integrating this? And every time Jupiter returns to Leo, what happened 2014, right? Gen X had their Saturn return and millennials started having their Saturn return. Now what's happening that Jupiter's back in Leo? Gen Z is having their Saturn return. And then when it comes back, Gen Alpha and Gen Beta will. So each integration of a new society takes into account a younger generation coming of age being a part of this, right? I'm really breaking down simple shit, but isn't that very fascinating? So, of course, in alignment with this new cycle, this activation of psychic power, we're psychically adjusting the integration of our character, psychic adjustment integration. In tapping into the feeling of who you truly are, in order to really tap into your power, which is linked to your identity. If we can have you forget who and what you are, you're not going to have access to your true power. If you can feel who you truly are, you will feel the expression of this power, with which we can say has been nerfed, because you're only tapping into a fraction of yourself. And I do feel like this Cancer season is going to return you back to who you've always been, even before the concept of your birth was a thing. Okay. That's just me sounding colorful, but I do want to believe that that's also a great way to interpret this. Remember, take everything that I'm saying with a grain of salt. You might walk away from this with an entirely different interpretation. I highly recommend that you do. Cool. So midichlorian levels, shout out to that. So after that, of course, we're going to see as the moon goes into Leo and sets up the stage, helps us understand how lit this season is going to be. And then the sun gets ready to go into Leo. I want to show you when we will have the direct movement of Mercury. The sun is going to enter Leo on the 23rd and 24th. It stations. So look at that. Right as we enter Leo and the moon in Sagittarius trines rock star Leo, we get ready to rock out with our cocks or titties out. Boom, Mercury is stationed. Yes, I did say that. So boom, right as we get ready to start Leo season off with the Leo signature on Jupiter and Leo, opposite Pluto and Aquarius, and this is going to be probably one of the most impactful we need to not flop moments ever. Libra season needs to be a classic, and Leo season needs to be a hit. Okay, if Leo season was a song and Libra was an album, Leo needs to be a hit. Libra has to be a classic. Okay, if Leo season is a hit, Virgo is going to give us good reviews. Unfortunately, Virgo is not willing to lie for the culture, which I don't know how to feel about that. Because if Leo season is a flop, Virgo is going to say that it was trash. We're going to enter Virgo season, and Virgos are going to be like, I'm not going to lie, that shit was a 2-pack of ass, B. Like, that shit was garbage. That shit was trash. And then Libra season is not going to hit. If Leo season is a hit, and then Virgo gives us that review that critically breaks it down, like, oh, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This was pretty gas. This was pretty fire. Libra can be a classic. And we will have saved this year. We cannot have Virgo clown us, or it's over, or we are done for. Virgo can't lie. Virgo can't lie and say something is good. Like Pisces can do that. Pisces can be like, wow, that was a good song. It was totally not trash. Virgo is telling you it's garbage. We need Leo season to be a hit. This is important. This is paramount. Okay, this is very important. It has to be undeniably good so that if Virgo is just hating, we know that they're just hating. But Virgo is going to keep it real. Okay. 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 Yeah, let's do the poll. Let's do the poll. I believe in Leo. I believe in Leo. Gemini season was so crazy. It has to be a hit. It has to be a hit. Or we're fucked. All right. That being said, I made the poll. Will Leo season be a hit? I have no choice but to believe in Leo. I feel like Leo's been cooking. We are due for a hit. Leo has had time to rest. And you know what I'm saying? Libra has more pressure on them than ever. Really, I did say it again. Okay. So yeah, you feel me? Like, I think Leo's gonna come through. Leo is talented as fuck. So I just don't see them flopping. It's happened before, but like, I believe in Leo. I really don't have a choice. It better be a banger. Like, it has to be a banger. If Leo season was a season, it has to be like a quintessential banger. It has to be like a blockbuster movie. That's the only way Libra season will be a classic. Someone voted no. Oh my God, that's crazy. Okay, some of y'all don't believe in Leo, and it is what it is. I'm not even mad. We need Aries to blow the creation all over. I will say Aries did come through. Aries came through, rebooted this whole bitch, and we've had some very interesting origin stories. Tyler Robinson, David are just two of many. So like, Aries came to Aries understood the assignment. Aries understood the assignment. I think we're good. This is where Leo, you have to come through. If Leo comes through and Libra is a classic, Sagittarius will take over from here. Sagittarius is a wild card. So if Leo flops, and if Leo is ass and Libra flops, Sag is going to be ass. Sag can only do so much. We need Leo and Libra to come through, please. I'm sorry, no, it's important. Okay, so that being said, right when we get on stage and we're ready to bring this powerful understanding of who we are, Mercury is going to station. Now, I think the best question was asked. Is this moment supposed to feel uncomfortable and uncertain? Absolutely. Because Cancer is accordingly redefining our comfort zones with this retrograde and integration. 7-Eleven, you are the MVP. Thank you very much. Okay. This whole process of redefining your comfort zone is going to feel uncomfortable as fuck. It's going to be the uncertainty of, will Leo flop? Will Libra be like, we don't know. We're not going to know until Aquarius season. I mean, we'll know during, but we're not going to know how much of a classic was until like the end of the year, beginning of next year. And that's what courage is. This is what Leo defines. Leo is the courage to go on stage and sing Oppa Gangnam Style, not knowing it's going to be a hit, not knowing people are going to be singing that song for ages. You feel the fear. You feel the uncertainty of the potential that you might very well embarrass yourself on stage and people can laugh at you, but you perform anyway. You perform anyway, and you sing with your whole heart. Okay? All right? Show me your vagina. My bad. You sing knowing that you're going to kill the stage. You feel me? You don't let anything stop you. All right? I'm on a boat. I'm on a boat. Hold on, what was that? I like the bartender. Ooh, she was looking for me. Can you believe if T-Pain listened to the horrible advice around him and he never, ever made some of the most impactful smash hits? I'm in love with a stripper. She better, she better, she wa. Can you imagine if we were never blessed with these undeniable crack hits? That's because he felt whatever doubt and uncertainty, and he did it anyway. And he did it anyway. So, yes, it's supposed to feel uncomfortable. It's supposed to feel uncertain. Universe on the line, shot clock down. We're passing it to Iguodala. We're passing it to Iguodala. Okay? And he swishes. Swoosh. That's it. Do you feel me? It's not about knowing. It's not about being entirely confident. It's about feeling the fear, understanding the feeling of you, and doing it anyway. Those that know their God will do exploits. Those that are too caught up on what they look like and how they feel, they're not going to be taking the revolutionary action that other people are already doing while you're over here thinking about how you want it to look like. So, beautiful question. That's why this transit is very slept on, because this is going to psychically adjust the integration of not only your feelings, but enable you to redefine this sense of uncertainty, to overcome the uncomfort you feel because you're taking facets of yourself you're being reintroduced to for the first time. Imagine being reintroduced to something for the first time, back for the first time, and you're having to go on stage without seeing what results are going to come of it. You only have your faith in yourself. You only have that feeling of yourself and in yourself. Okay. Know thyself. All right. The kingdom of God is within you. Those that know their God will do exploits. We could talk about the Pauline gospel, inverting Jesus's teachings of it being inside versus externalizing it, how Paul maybe aligned with that. It's a huge debate or whatnot. Honestly, I don't know how y'all let Paul tell you that I saw a vision of I was killing Christians until I saw a vision of Jesus and then I went blind and now I'm on your side. Like, I don't know how we just ate that shit up and didn't realize Paul is a pen name and somebody is ghostwriting these books. But I'm not going to make this a religious discussion. I'm going to say you have all the keys within yourself. You have literally all four elements. That's the magician. You have the wands, which is your will and your intention. You have the pentacles, which are your values, your physiological senses that ground your living experience. You have the espadas, the swords, which are your thoughts, which guide your intentions. And then you have the cups, your emotions and your imaginations that fill in the lines here. You have all the elements. You have everything you need in order to make your thoughts things, in order to create the step forward. Okay. And this puts you in a position to not just drink the Kool-Aid, but to make your own special flavored Kool-Aid. Let's use that analogy. You are the ingredients, and you are putting in a special cocktail of dynamics maybe you're not used to feeling, a new understanding of yourself that you're going to get ready to take on stage. I'm sprung, now she got me doing things I never do. If you ain't been, I'm telling you, I'm sprung, now was amazing. Boom. You think I'm worried about if I'm gonna flop or not? I know this is a banger. You do, you do, you do. I know this is a banger. And I'm about to hook people up with my banger. That's it. That's it. You had to be there when this song dropped. I think a lot of you were not there when this song dropped. Maybe you were, like, you had to be there. It was a thing. It was a thing. It was one of those songs. All right, so there you go. I think I did a little bit of my best to break this down. We're gonna start Leo season with Mercury direct. So now, as we are on stage on the red carpet, hobnobbing with the Leos and the other lead role characters that are rebooting the lead role character that they are playing for the rebooted franchise they're in, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. Mercury is gonna go direct, and everything we reevaluated around how much we've evolved our feeling of ourselves and who we are, boom, Mercury is going to very quickly now catch up to the sun. We're going to have Venus square Mars during this period. So how it is we're polishing our habits are directly conflicting with the actions that are innovating our mindset to, all right, the groundedness of these habits with the radical nature of our assertive thoughts and actions based on our thoughts. So Mercury now is going to bring the road to coming back, probably going to meet in Virgo in its domicile, in its second home. And this is where, of course, the direct motion square Saturn and Neptune that are going to retrograde are very significant. Because now that we have finished reevaluating the feeling as it squares Saturn, which is once again integrating the potency of who you feel relative to the integrity of how authentically you develop this character with your actions. And this is how Aries is defined. Our actions, your authentic individual actions that you do by yourself. Saturn's adding more seriousness. Now, Saturn and Neptune are going to reevaluate the space covered, the ground covered. All the 1996ers that began to have their Saturn return, boom, you're going to start to be like, oh shit, new order, got the power. And this is going to now start to reevaluate while we're on stage the integrity of your character you have defined up into this point, and the reimagination of your character you have defined up into this point. Boom. That's going to lead, of course, into Venus going into Libra, Mars going into Cancer, right as Mercury goes into Leo. Okay. And when is that going to happen? During the new moon in MFing Leo, baby. So we have quite the lineup. This is everything that's going to set up, I think, one of the most lit summers of our lives. Okay. I think this is going to be one of the most dramatic, controversial, fun, exciting, scary, and terrifying summers we have ever experienced. I think the entertainment is going to be on point. I mean, this is provided we don't flop ridiculously and then we just completely disappointed and disillusioned with how shitty music is and art is. I want to believe we're in a renaissance. The movies are going to be good again. The video games are going to be good again. The music is going to be good again. And we're back. I want to believe we're so fucking back that we're just gonna have to work through our issues with renewed purpose. So 91% of y'all think Leo season is going to be a hit. Glamour Glitz, shout out to you. And okay, no, 89% of you. So a good 11% of you have no faith in Leo, which, oh my God. But that being said, I'm going to count that as one instead of two because I wanted to say the full thing. This puts us in a position moving forward to, as we reevaluate these feelings and we psychically adjust our character, to put you in a position to feel and dive deeper into yourself than you've ever felt. And this is going to integrate deeper facets of your own psychic ability and subconscious receptivity and intuitive receptivity that over the next 2 weeks up until the new moon, I don't think you even knew you had the capacity to achieve. I don't think you knew you could do. Okay. And congratulations. You know what I'm saying? Um, I think you're going to enjoy where you prepare to take this and what you can do with this once again, realistically. So I'm going to close this out here. It doesn't look like any of you want live readings. Totally fine. We're going to resume tomorrow with the best, the pick card readings. These are my favorite readings to do. They're just so fun. Major only. We have everything we need to take the step forward. Thank you, Wintalk. This is very true. And I hope you just continue to take advantage of that. Okay. Um, you guys stay blessed. I tend to forget that Cancer is private. No wonder I've been feeling the way. Yes, that's the most important thing. Unlike Capricorn, that's very success driven. Look at my accomplishments. Look at my accomplishments. Look at my accomplishments. And Aries is look at who I am. Look at who I am. And Libra is look at who I'm with. Look at my partnerships. Look at my relationships. Cancer minds their fucking business. They're very private. Cancer is not telling you that they're dealing with trauma from finding out that their parents cheated on each other, or their parents were swinging, or they fought, they threw hands with their own parents. Like, this is all private. Cancer inerts this. They keep it in their emotions. This, everyone has this in their chart. Everyone has a fourth house in their chart. Everyone has a space where they feel at home. So a lot of this development, a lot of this evolution was quiet. It's not like Jupiter and Leo that's going to be loud, that's going to be blazing, that's going to be like flaming. This is very quiet. Your psychic development is very quiet. These are deeper feelings that you are integrating, with which you may not have ever had the room to ever express and contextualize and conceptualize like you've ever done. I'm down for a live reading. Okay, Yogi for the peeps. Thank you. I do have Venmo. My Venmo is at the Peace Dealer. So for those of you who would like a live reading, I'm going to do live readings tomorrow for tarot. So if you want astrology live reading, I see Yogi, you're sending the Venmo. Please also send me, if I don't have your chart, send me your sun, moon, or rising. And yeah, we can totally do that. Okay, I totally got you. And we can get it crack-a-lacking. We can get it crack-a-lacking. Yeah. Crack-a-lacking Johnson. But yeah, so a lot of this depth, little scary sometimes on the power, more practice. This is going to integrate the foundation, Taraka, thank you very much. That's going to open up space for you to express through Leo, and everything you activate Cancer 2 months from now in Virgo season will become mastered. You will, through repetition, understand the mastery of what you're integrating now. So so be okay with being uncomfortable and uncertain. You might look at things that don't necessarily fully shape up the way you expect them to. Okay, you have the rest of summer to do that. So Taraka, thank you very much. I got your Venmo. Please let me know your sun, moon, and rising, or email me your chart, bro. I'm assuming you're Yogi T for the peeps. So if any else of you would like a live reading, you're welcome to join. I'm going to start with you first, Taraka. Oh, shit. Damn. All right, we're not doing that. Oh, sick. Why did you go to spam? It's actually kind of crazy. Queen Michi, I got you. Oh, no. Oh, oh. There we go. Rising Libra, Moon Pisces, Sun Capricorn. Okay. So, and if you want me to pull up your chart so I can get more accuracy, you could also do that as well. No problem. So, there we go, Demetrius. So knowing that your rising is in Libra means that your 10th house is in Cancer, which has a sun in Capricorn. You are the divine director with a social personality. Moon, Pisces, Sun, Capricorn are some of the most powerful people I ever meet. Elizabeth, I got you. Thank you very much. It's actually legit AF. So you are the divine director. You have, as a Libra rising, you have a fourth house Capricorn Sun-ish. So you've completed an evolution cycle that you, of course, began back in 2017. Jupiter going through your 10th house is not only breaking through. Yes, I do have your info, Elizabeth. Thank you. I got both of your charts up. So I will look into that after uh, this right now. So as a rising in Libra, bro, this is very powerful because not only are you completing this evolution cycle that you started since 2017, Jupiter going through your 10th is opposite your natal sun in Capricorn. You're probably progressed aqua sun, but it's opposite your Capricorn sun. So 2020 was when Jupiter went through your sun. And not only did it go through your sun, right? Now your awareness of Jupiter opposite your sun in Capricorn is breaking through your relationship with success. And please confirm this for me. Relative to what you might have started 2017, you feel you can accomplish so much more as an activist. The rising Libra is the artist personality, the social activist, the social bridge, the fairness. And as, of course, a sun in Capricorn, the foundation in the fourth of organization, this collective foundation, you are now in Cancer season breaking through the feeling of, based on this powerful foundation, which is disciplined in Capricorn, restricted, how you are breaking through who you achieve success with, your relationship with success, and how your relationships define the success you come into. Because as a Libra rising, especially, Saturn is through your seventh. Neptune is reimagining your relationship house, the authenticity as an activist, you hold space for others, and the standards you are raising in your partnerships with others. This is what is preparing you for marriage, divorce, setting up more serious partnerships. So the square that Mercury and the Sun is making to these seventh house Aries transit placements are challenging as a Sun in Capricorn, how your foundation is influenced by the authentic actions you are holding others accountable to stay in integrity to, and what kind of success they hold back or you step forward with them in. So this is beautiful. All this is a Libra rising is going to go into Leo, and coming into Leo season and next year, you're going to come into rewards relative to your exuberance and your entourage. Uranus coming into the ninth is going to innovate what you can teach indirectly or directly, and what kind of higher education you might innovate or learn or come into. But once again, because we know Mercury is retrograding in your 10th, this is re-evaluating everything you feel about what you can achieve. You might have realized with Jupiter that what you felt you could achieve over the past 12 years has completely blown over, and you feel you can achieve way more. And as a Capricorn, because Cancer is opposite the Capricorn in your 10th house, this place of success is being influenced by your awareness of who you're connecting with, in connection with the T square to Aries, which is making sure these relationships honor the integrity of your character and don't hold you back. With, guess where the North Node is? On your moon, unlocking the supernatural divinity of your soul. All right. So This is where you'll feel the perspective with the trines to your moon in Pisces and the opposition to your sun accordingly and appropriately aligning you towards who you're going to break through with. And once again, you Libra risings need to be excited because now this Leo chapter is going to have you step into the rewards that come into this 10 plus year cycle of evolving yourself, and who gets to achieve these rewards, how you're going to really enter these social spaces and raise the vibrations and provide a lot more joy. So Yogi T for the peeps, please let me know if that resonates with you, because you have a very powerful chart. Like you do represent the God level of moon and sun placements as a super personality social. So yeah. So next we're gonna do Michi, Queen Michi. Okay, Queen Goddess Michi. Let me just be clear here. Michi, we know you got the high nobility, you got the aqua rising. So not only, see, for us born 1990 and before that, I think 78, you guys are having a Jupiter return. And the later half of 1990 is Jupiter and Leo. All right, I was born Jupiter Cancer, so we already had our return. Now the later half of 90 and 78, and I would dare say 2002, you guys are having your Jupiter and Leo return. All right. And not only are you having your Jupiter in Leo return, but this is putting you in a position as an aqua rising to very powerfully and realistically integrate, as we can see, Cancer in your sixth house, your lifestyle. You were born a vessel of the King of the Gods and this destiny point. So, like, you really like that. You're really like that. Sun on Juno. Juno was married to Jupiter. So you got the goddess of beauty, you got the queen goddess on the MC. Your legacy is to be seen as high queen, progressed into Capricorn. You have such a goddamn powerful chart. And that's why this is significant, because now that Jupiter is finished out of your fifth and is entering the sixth, we know you've progressed your rising into Taurus. Damn. You're progressed late Gemini rising. Okay, that makes more sense. You're a late Gemini rising, which is actually still mind-blowing. No, my bad. You're late Aries rising. You're 29 degrees Aries rising, which is crazy. Okay, which is actually super impressive. So you're about to be a Taurus rising, which means Cancer is now this third house space. You're reevaluating and evolving the comfort zone around the life you live. How do you feel about your own lifestyle so that you can feel more autonomy, power, and comfort around how you form your life and how your lifestyle feels? So this retrograde is reevaluating, as the sun will be new in that fifth, sixth house cusp, how it is you not only integrate that creativity, but because we were born 1990, we have Saturn, we have Neptune, we have Uranus, opposite. This is specific to us. That's going to account for your progressed sun, and now how your progressed awareness of relationships with others directly transform your habits, how you directly influence unconsciously other people's habits, and how other people directly influence your habits, and how in your relationships with these people you are integrating and overcoming old comfort zones around how you live your life. All of this is going to prepare to integrate through Leo season into your seventh house, where Jupiter is going to return. And by the end of the year, Jupiter will be in your DC. And now you're harvesting 6 years worth of evolution since 2021, when Jupiter, of course, went through your rising. Okay. And I think that's very awesome, because not only is this going to be a Jupiter return for you that's going to really help you feel powerfully into yourself, but it's going to put you in a position to realistically tap into, like never before, the potency and quality of how you're integrating every facet of yourself you've evolved since 2021. It's going to feel like it's all coming together. and that you have more creativity. You are integrating this deep feeling into. Now, we also have to take into account this is all on your South Node, because you were born on that shifting of the nodes into Capricorn, whereas the first of us had it in Aquarius. So this is also aligning with what you're meant to feel and who you're meant to break this through with. Okay. So now that Jupiter is at that 0 degree point, going over your Leo moon, throughout the rest of this month and July, you're going to feel your soul evolve. You're going to feel this expanded creativity. Your moon, which is progressed, of course, in Scorpio on Pluto, compounds this now, because you're also reawakening the depth and extreme quality of your soul. So this is very huge. You and Elizabeth are both born 1990, like myself. So I'm very familiar with these aspects. And I think it's very awesome, because this is a point, as all of us born 1990, squaring our Saturns in Aries, where we're going to integrate a lot more power that us as late bloomers, compared to previous generations, had to kind of go through and wait a little bit longer in order to step into. That will feel like we have more power than we know what to do with, and we'll have a lot more room to work with as well moving forward, which I think is also really badass and super awesome. Okay, so you get to feel that alignment. It puts you more in that position to capitalize off of all this. And what you want to really focus on with this Mercury retrograde is, how much more creative do you feel about your mindset around how you live your life? And how are you going to get ready to integrate that creativity, so that moving into Leo, you could be more excited about the life you live and who you live it with? This is going to get ready to break through all of that. And it's going to increasingly show how much you've evolved and how you haven't been doing nothing, but you've been doing what you've been doing. Thank you, Yogi T, for the peeps. So aligned, bro. 2017 and 2020 were huge for me too. Venus in Aquarius. Okay, so Pluto's going over that. I love what you said about us entering a renaissance. I'm excited for the positive collective transformation. So thank you for mentioning that, especially knowing your Venus is in your 5th house in Aquarius. This breakthrough of Venus and Leo and Jupiter and Leo are going to really break through the community that recognizes your genius and that fosters this. That's going to be the rewards. It's like, okay, you have greater support than ever. All right. So last but not least, we have Lady Elizabeth, Queen Elizabeth. All right. So what we see here is that, as a fellow Taurus rising, okay, this is putting you in a position to shape very directly your mindset. This is where we both have rising in Taurus. You are a lot more concentrated on the extreme depth and purity of this natural energy as natural queen. So now that you have stepped into your angelic nature as a Gemini rising and sun, this is about the value of your mindset. That Jupiter here, you're on the Jupiter Cancer end before it went into Leo, it has it very juicy. Okay, you have a golden attitude. I like that one, it's right before it leaves the 2nd house. And as a progressed Gemini rising, it's in that 1st, 2nd house. And we can blend both accordingly. Okay, Jupiter is progressed into 12 degrees. So you are slowly but surely embodying this expansion of what you feel you're worth and how that directly shapes your mindset. So this is a lot about feeling rich, feeling valuable, feeling the evolution of your psychic abilities and what kind of value that also steps you into. Thank you, Michi. I highly appreciate you. All right. And it's really good touching base with both of you in 1990, because we really get to experience really what all this time was for. And you also have Saturn in the 9th. So this is also breaking through the transformation of the boundaries you draw and the shaping of this powerful element of your philosophy. That's what I love about being a Taurus rising, because we have Saturn ruling our 9th house, which makes us very powerful teachers, gang for sure. And the potency of this Capricorn is going to speak a lot to how powerful your psychic abilities are. And as a Taurus progressed Gemini, how you can ground that feeling mentally and direct it moving forward. So not only is this going to reevaluate how much more value you bring to a situation, how much more valuable you feel, how much more instantly you can manifest this value, but the organization around with which Jupiter going into your fourth and the North Node, that's another thing. We're having the North Node Aquarius return. That's going to unlock a new era of success for us. So now that you've had these first three houses set, you could facilitate a move. Jupiter going into Leo could prepare you for you to move or expand the creative nature around your space that will set the space for you to thrive accordingly, that will prepare for you like never before to approach success in a way we couldn't have done before our Saturn return, while we were still perhaps going through college and defining how we want to really live our lives. So this is going to be very exciting. This is definitely going to, especially once again, shape your mindset around these comfort zones and how much more creatively powerful you are, what kind of comfort zones around this sense of creativity, but most importantly, the psychic abilities that through this new moon will activate with the Mercury retrograde, and how you'll immediately begin to integrate. Remember, with the North Node that will go into Aquarius starting in August, coming into next year with Pluto here, this is just going to, in alignment with technology and Uranus and Mars in your second house, innovate how effortlessly your own genius ideas you can monetize. And it's gonna feel like we were made for this age. It's gonna feel like a lot of the delays weren't delays. We just allowed reality to catch up to us. And now we can take advantage for like how technology in alignment with everyone works so good for us. Like how a lot of where we're at, we were born for, and how this is going to break us through very powerfully. So we can say that you've set the stage for this very powerfully and accordingly, and you have so much to look forward to relative to that. All right. So next we have Just Be You. I love that. I love that. Thank you for sending your chart. Let's go. Let us pull that up right quick. So yeah. Thank you. And it's good to know August 5. So you're representing Leo. Shout out to the Leos who are definitely coming back like never before. I think this is going to feel like revival. I think you guys are going to be reviving other people, but this is going to feel like a revival service. You guys are going to, the important thing for Leo throughout the rest of the year, you guys are bringing the heart back. Now that we're starting to get the feeling back, you guys are bringing the heart back, the love of the game. And I love this. You are actually, and thank you, Elizabeth. It's always an honor. All right. Whereas Elizabeth is natural queen, we see Jess as the solar queen, the social queen. I'm grateful that this is your first one. Thank you for being here with us. Jess, this is going to be so important because number one, you're a soul reaper. So I'm Moon, Saturn, Capricorn, you're Moon, Saturn, Cancer on the queen goddess Juno. You have an exceptionally legendary, powerful soul. That's the first thing I need to say. Leo risings like Drake with Cancer Moon. You guys have ultimate legendary power, soul power. And unlike Drake, yours is stacked. You have Saturn and Juno on your moon. If people knew how fucking powerful you are, they would watch the way they make you feel. Because you have a deep emotional burden where you will never truly be understood at an emotional level because of the totality of compassion and emotional intelligence that could be hidden from you. You also have the affinity of Moon, Cancer, Sun, Leo. Like your chart is legit. You have the king of the gods on your MC. So like, this is very important. Jupiter is expanding the origin of your legacy. And this is where now Jupiter coming into your rising, Venus already through your first, is getting ready for you to step into a brand new 12-year cycle, the likes of which you haven't seen since 2014, 2015. Except now that Saturn and Neptune are in your 10th, your ninth coming into your 10th. Uranus has cleared your 10th, right? Your progressed MC is in Gemini, where Uranus and Mars is now. This is going to open up virality. This is going to open up you being yourself and literally, of course, connecting your word with other people who resonate with your influence and how important that influence is. So this is debuting another expansion of your own personality. And now the Mercury retrograde in this 12th house space is reevaluating the soul potency. Once again, not only do you have legendary soul power, but Saturn and Juno here is the rulership and the control over your own emotions that still allow you to be vulnerable, because you have to surrender to this space. And I think it'd be good to do a reading with you, because I would like to talk to you about, if you ever get a consultation with me, I want to talk to you about this 12th house moon, because this is a very, very powerful placement. And it could be very misunderstood. Once again, it's squaring Uranus and Libra, in the Neptune and in Sag. Like, you're psychic on a level that doesn't really make sense in a way that could be put into words, because your receptivity is at a totality. It's at like a world level, individualized, to where you can just understand things that you weren't even there for. So there's a surrendering to this sense of irrationality as a lead role character, because you're still a Leo. You're like the deeply emotional, powerful Leo, the rare endangered lion species, the legendary signature right before the new moon in Leo that transcends this sense of sincerity, so that you, in releasing this sense of your ego, can fully express the heart at this transcendent level. And I know I'm saying a lot of word fluff, but it's still very powerful. And now with Jupiter that is expanded square your Jupiter in Aries, it has begun integrating the potency and depth with which you are redefining your own emotions and how you feel what you feel. Now that your sun has progressed 1 degree Libra and your moon is at the end of Taurus, you're getting ready to step into a Sagittarius signature. You already began the full moon progression like maybe 2.5 years ago. So at this stage where you're breaking through, stepping into, you've already cleared Virgo, you've mastered your consciousness. Now you're in the fall, you're getting ready to go through Pluto. And you know what I'm saying? Being in flow is definitely very important. However, this retrograde is going to reevaluate how a level of soul understanding, even in alignment with the new moon that's going to be in between your moon and Saturn. This is going to shift the way you trust in your own feelings. You believe in an intensity of irrational emotions that are still psychic and aligned to something really happening without needing the details before you see it, which of course conventionally sounds dumb, but you have so much integrity in your soul. You have this internal sense of authority that enables you to trust what you feel and then gain confirmation bias literally around that and still be right. Okay, so that's going to be a huge difficulty of this Mercury transit. Like, you're having to surrender entirely and reevaluate the means and basis with which you even trust your own feelings. But because this is the last chapter of the previous cycle of evolution, now that Jupiter is getting ready to go in your first, this is the last part of a book that coming into the rest of this year, you're going to open up a brand new book. So this is really about giving yourself the time to rest, to really just allow your feelings to flow and release, and to gain this unconscious, competent sense of your own alignment with your feelings that prepare for you to perform on stage like you've never performed before. Now that you've progressed into Libra and have completely completed Virgo, as a progressed Virgo rising, that will align this sense of surrender around who you feel belongs around you and how you also continue to facilitate that as well, and with who you facilitate that as well with. Okay. Uh, of course, knowing that you have just had your Chiron return and Chiron is in Taurus also puts into major alignment this returning of authentic healing. All this is opposite Uranus at the end of Libra. And that T square with Jupiter and Mercury at the end of Cancer with Saturn is going to shape a lot your social expression and social skills and the individual philosophy. Be you, just it's in your name, just be you. That's the Jupiter Aries. You teach people how to be themselves, you teach authenticity. Left in industry of 28 years today, these things guided my entire life. So you've closed that chapter out. And now it's time for you to step into a more pronounced chapter with Pluto in your seventh house that's going to have you directly triggering and awakening people due to a multitude of experience as you really uncover the layers and unpeel how much plot power and how significant of a lead role character you've always been. All right. And congratulations. I think this is going to be so powerful and so good for y'all. And yeah, looks like that's what we have. We're going to resume tomorrow with the pick a card readings. You guys stay blessed as always. That was amazing. Looks like the all-time counter is 55. We went from like 49 to 55. So I said it 6-7 times. We'll see how that counter grows moving forward. All right, you guys stay blessed as always, and until next time.